Divine greetings. This is Akila Textry. I am conscious chakra and I transmute energy through consciousness. Now, here I have 3 steps of how to loosen the grip of the ego. This is a good one. But before I do, let's give a little description, a little pre-description of what the ego is to the soul consciousness, of just what we are dealing with. So we know what we're dealing with when we're talking about the ego. So with that said, the 3 parts of the consciousness, what I call the soul consciousness, are the superconscious, the conscious, and the subconscious. The superconscious would be your, let's say, higher self, the divine self, the I am, the divine mind, Christ's mind, all of these beautiful things, divine, it just is. And the subconscious would be the feeling, the intuition, the memories, the divine feminine, the feminine aspects of yourself, and the conscious. Conscious is the thinking, the ego, and the masculine energy, that divine masculine self. So, with that said, understanding right where the ego is. So, where is the ego? In the conscious phase of mind. It wants to control everything. It's what you are consciously aware of. And it always is it's in the driver's seat. It wants to be in the driver's seat at all times. And that is what you are operating with all the time. So with that said, now we know what the ego is. We're not talking about an alter ego. When people say, hey, you in your ego, and we have to be careful how we use it. So let's get to know this ego so we can understand how to even loosen the grip. A lot of us can't loosen the grip because we don't know the ego. So there's one thing. So with that said, knowing that as we take each step, what we gonna do? Breathe so that we can process it after each step. So first step is we need to acknowledge the ego as your protector. As who? Your protector. So a lot of times we think badly of the ego, and this is what we need to do as the first step, is to change our perception of what the ego is. Instead of looking at it as this bad thing, the ego is what it is. We don't want to get rid of it. You just want to loosen the grip, because the ego also is the part of you that says, it gives you your confidence in your I am and who you are. But that's a whole nother thing. We'll have to do a topic on that one. But understanding that it just is here to protect you. So the first step is acknowledging all it wants to do to protect. Protect you from what? Anything that you've been through, your trauma, all of your past trauma, all of your pains, all of this. Thank your ego for that. It's your protector. See, I just almost skipped a whole new step, but we're going to get to that. But we are talking about knowing that instead of looking at it like you bad ego, you're in my way, ego's such a bad thing. Let's look at it and say, hey, the ego is the protector. It is the part of you that puts up the walls whenever anything that you have been hurt from a past life, from early childhood life, whatever it is, it's the one that puts up the wall and says, hey, this is what we're going to do. It puts up lies, but it, not lies to harm you, but the ego is the one that holds the lies that we tell ourselves because it's only trying to protect. So you may, let's say something happened to you when you were a child. Let's say you've been abandoned. The ego protects by saying, hey, we're not going to allow ourselves to be abandoned anymore. We're going to be 2 steps ahead of the game, and we're going to not let people get close to us. So the guard that it has up is, before you can even get a chance to abandon me, I'm going to disregard you. So what it does is now the ego is in the way, and it's just protecting you from ever being abandoned again. So it's walking around saying, hey, we're not going to let this happen again. No. Here's your protector. However, in the long run, when you outgrow this, or you're growing through something, you wonder why you keep getting this block, but it's because you have not loosened the grip of the ego. That protection is still walking with you. So you have to work with that. So with that said, that's the first step, is acknowledging the wall that is built up. It's a protector. Your ego is just your protector. It's your bodyguard. It's your soul bodyguard. Step 2, before we get to step 2, we got to do what? Let's admit it. Ego, you are my protector. That should calm you and open your perspective a little bit for us to step into step 2, which is love the ego with due respect. Love, here comes the love. Love is actually what I would like to call the first step in a lot of things. But I realize with the ego, before we could love, if we just tell people love your ego, it's like, what? Why? My ego's bad. So first thing I realize is we have to remove the chains off of our minds that says that the ego is bad all the time. And so once we acknowledge that, we can truly understand how to love the ego with due respect. So now that you see the ego as your protector, we're carrying this with us. Now it's like, okay, you're my protector. What have you been protecting me? You protected me from being abandoned. I love you. I love you with all due respect. Love your ego. This is moving out of the space of having discomfort with the ego. This is us having a relationship in our mind here. We're talking to our ego. We're talking to ourselves. I love you, ego. You've protected me from this. You've protected me from that. Yeah, you might have got me in trouble with some other things. Those are the side effects. But overall, you love me. Thank you. I love you for protecting me the way you have, because we're talking to ourselves. So with that step, you really come to terms with this ego. You really come to like, I just want to give you a hug, ego. Thank you, my protector, my bodyguard. So that is the second step, is loving the ego with all due respect. And respect meaning to respect, relook. So relook at it. It's also calling you to relook at it with love. And that is step 2. Ego, I love you. Let's take a deep breath. So you feel a little bit better already. It's so good. This is one thing I'm learning. It feels good when you breathe with these steps. Step 3. This brings us to step 3. Now, once you've done that, you've acknowledged the ego. You have acknowledged it as being a protector. You're good with that. You are now coming to love the ego with all due respect, and you're good with that. And now that you and the ego have a good relationship, rather than you trying to beat down the walls of the ego trying to get in, this is why we have a problem getting into the subconscious. We are now in a good relationship with the ego that we can just simply, step 3, ask the ego, can you please sit down and allow me to be free to feel? And by the way, this is a very good thing for the sacral chakra, because the sacral chakra is about allowing yourself to feel. So this is something that I talk about in my workshops, that in order to loosen the grip, we have to be able to let our ego say, hey, can you allow me to feel this? Because in order to work with your emotional body, you need to allow yourself to feel. So this really helps us get into certain parts of our mind. So step 3 is really important in saying, hey, now that we have this good relationship going on, now that you know I love you and I appreciate you, I respect you, can I ask you, ego, please? Because this is how now your ego trusts you. You trust you. This is you with yourself. You trust you to say, hey, okay, you got this. Can you, ego, I love you for everything you did. I just need you to sit down for a moment. Give me 5 minutes with these feelings. Can you please sit back and just let me allow myself to feel whatever it is I need to feel, good, bad, or ugly. It's okay, ego. I can handle it. I need you to let me do this. I know you protect me. It's kind of like what you got to tell that overbearing parent, that overprotective parent. I know you love me, but let me learn this lesson. Please. Thank you for guarding me, but please, I love you. So that's, step 3. And of course, always carry love through the whole process. Love is that, I can't say it enough, the peace that surpasses all understanding. So carry love through that. And that 3rd step is going to really feel good it might not feel so good when the feeling comes, but be prepared for that as well. This is the work that you're choosing to do, and you're asking for this for a reason. So also be prepared for when you allow yourself to feel. Don't get mad at ego again, because then you're going to have to go through a whole nother process of trying to make him loosen the grip. He's going to squeeze tighter. You're going to be like, oh, you mad at me? I'm going to squeeze tighter. Now you're going to have to work extra hard for me to loosen the grip. So keep all of that in mind. So with that said, We're at step 3 where we have asked the ego, please let me go and allow me to feel. I love you and thank you for allowing me to do this. Take a deep breath. And that should loosen the grips of the ego in your conscious mind, which is your conscious phase of mind that allows you to check into that subconscious. So those are the 3 steps to loosening the grip with the ego. I know that this helped. I know and I have faith that this helped. Try it and you will see how far it gets you. It is really a good tool to use. So with that said, each one, reach one, teach one. If you don't know where to start, start in your heart and shine your light from the inside out. You got this. Love yourself and love your ego like you love your parents that protect you. Peace, love, and light.